When I first heard about this case, I was shocked. Two brothers who faked their own kidnapping for money had been missing for over 20 years before their bodies were found. And after all this time, we finally have answers. On March 14, 2001, two brothers, 19-year-old Sean and 23-year-old Craig Aiken, went missing in Lexington County, South Carolina. They left behind no trace, and the circumstances surrounding their disappearance remain a mystery to this day. Craig called home that evening at around 5:30 p.m. to inform his mother that he and his brother had been involved in an accident. He told her that they were okay but needed a ride from their car, which broke down on the side of the road. Their mother, Barbara, rushed to the scene where she discovered their abandoned vehicle. But when she looked inside, it was empty. She then called the police to report her sons missing. The last confirmed sighting of Craig and Sean was by a motorist who spotted them walking along Interstate 26 near exit 104 just before 7 p.m. that same evening. What makes this case so perplexing is the lack of evidence. There were no signs of a struggle and nothing to suggest foul play. The Aiken family clung on to hope for many years, organizing search parties and never giving up hope that the boys would be found alive. A few days later, Barbara received a ransom note saying, "We have your children. If you want to see them again, you'll hear from us." No one ever contacted the family again. This led investigators to believe that the boys were kidnapped and taken by someone, or perhaps both. The only clue in this case was the ransom note, and without any other evidence, leads were scarce. In the aftermath of the tragedy, their mother never remarried and died of cancer in 2012, still searching for answers. Years went by with very few updates in the case until recently, when authorities announced that the remains of the two missing brothers had finally been found on November 28th. After more than 20 years of uncertainty, the Aiken family got the news they've been waiting for. The Lexington County Coroner's office announced that human remains found in the woods near an old tire shop off Charleston Highway had been positively identified as Craig and Sean Aiken. How did the police find them? Well, it turns out the case went cold. Not because the brothers disappeared without a trace, but because they faked their own disappearance in order to collect life insurance money. But how do you fake your own disappearance and get away with it for more than 20 years? Let me tell you, these guys planned this thing out really well. When authorities searched the area where the car was found back in 2001, they didn't uncover anything. It wasn't until recently that they used new technology and techniques to search the area again, leading them to a shallow grave in a wooded area about 2 miles from where the car was found. As they launched a new investigation into the case, detectives obtained a search warrant for the Aikens' former home. What they uncovered was shocking. The brothers had taken out $100,000 in life insurance policies on each other and had even named themselves as beneficiaries. It seemed like they were prepared to disappear, so why did they do it? Well, apparently the brothers were in a lot of debt, and they came up with a scheme to make some quick cash. They took out loans against their life insurance policies and then faked their own kidnapping to collect on the death benefits. How messed up is that? But here's the thing. They were supposed to die in the accident that they staged. In fact, they were both alive and well, living in Florida under fake identities. After taking the money out on their life insurance policies, they vanished. They changed their names, dyed their hair, altered their appearance, and basically started new lives for themselves. How did the police catch up to them? Well, thanks to advances in DNA technology, the brothers' identities were discovered in the national database. Authorities were able to track them down and bring them back to South Carolina to face charges. But it wasn't easy. At first, the brothers refused to cooperate. Craig pleaded the Fifth Amendment, and Sean claimed to have amnesia. But eventually, they cracked and confessed to the crime. Turns out they had stashed away a ton of cash and had been living comfortably in Florida for years. But it looks like their luck has finally run out. The brothers are now facing charges of fraud, conspiracy, and filing a false police report. And let's be real, they probably won't make bail. But here's the thing. All this time we thought the brothers were dead. We felt sorry for their family, and we hoped that one day we would find out what happened to them. But turns out they were alive and well, living on the beach in Florida, enjoying the fruits of their labor. And let's be honest, if they hadn't been caught, they probably would still be living their fake lives. But now their plans have fallen apart, and they're looking at serious jail time. And that raises another question. Where is the money? The brothers took out $100,000 worth of life insurance on each other and then collected on those policies when they faked their deaths. Where is that money? And how come they didn't split it with their mom? Well, according to reports, the money is still sitting in a bank account in Florida. And as for why they didn't share it with their mom, who knows? Maybe they were just being selfish, or maybe they thought she wouldn't understand what they were doing. Either way, it's clear that these brothers were planning this for a long time. They had everything set up perfectly. They made it look like they died in a car accident, and they even left behind a ransom note. They were so sure that they could fool everyone that they went ahead and spent the money. If you ask me, this case is like something out of a movie. You have a missing persons case that goes cold, then a break in the case after 20 years, and finally, the truth comes out. These brothers were alive all this time, and they faked their own kidnapping for money. I can't help but wonder what they were thinking. Why would they do something so crazy? And how did they live with the guilt of what they did? I mean, they took out life insurance on each other. That means they were planning this for a while. And then they left their mom believing that they were dead. I just don't understand. But hey, at least the truth came out, and justice will be served. Now, we may never know the full story of what happened to these brothers, but one thing is for sure, they'll be spending some serious time in prison. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.